conversation about free speech and political violence for colleges and universities. This is really becoming a test. How do we balance this? How do we protect students and keep people safe on campus, but still invite speakers who may come with a controversial point of view for the country, sparking fears that we may be entering this new era of political violence, and a hearty discussion about what do we do now and how do we bring people together?
And are we capable of a hearty discussion in this moment?
Right.
That's the overall
exchange of ideas without turning to violence. In fact, our next guest has been exploring this question with free speech experts. USA Today First Amendment reporter Brieanna Frank is joining us now with more. Brieanna, thanks for being here this morning on Connecting America. You wrote about this. So tell us, what does Charlie Kirk's assassination reveal to you about the current state of political polarization and violence in this country?
Well, I spoke to several experts from different universities and from different free speech groups who said that Charlie Kirk's assassination is indicative of this really difficult political moment that we're in. And they mentioned that, unfortunately, this didn't just start with his assassination. We've seen political violence happen numerous times over the last few years. A Democratic lawmaker was assassinated over the summer. President Donald Trump was shot on the campaign trail last year. And so they sort of said, unfortunately, it's just the latest in a string of political violence. And there are concerns that if efforts aren't made to address the issue, that trend will unfortunately continue.
Yeah, Brieanna, I'm curious, have you spoken with universities or even major companies to ask them, are they changing who they're inviting onto their campuses, their organizations, not necessarily to censor, but in the aspect of safety?
Well, one of the things that the experts I talked to referenced was the Israel-Hamas war, for example, and how school administrators have responded in different ways to that because of safety. So, for example, the University of Southern California canceled a commencement address last year by a speaker who was an outspoken advocate for Palestinians, and they cited safety concerns. And the experts I talked to said that that's sort of the worst type of way to handle this issue. And they said that schools just have to find a way to continue having these speakers and giving people a voice so that they don't feel the need to resort to violence. And they just have to find a way to get the appropriate security resources to make that happen safely.
We've seen increasing friction at our universities, for example, Columbia University in New York City. Of course, the digital divide only seems to deepen in terms of the way people are reacting with each other on the internet. Are we seeing signs that political violence is influencing public discourse more broadly? And if so, how?
Well, one of the interesting and striking things about my reporting is that the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, just days before Charlie Kirk's assassination, published this report on college free speech rankings around the country. And one of the really striking findings was that 1 in 3 college students believe that, at least in some cases, violence can be used as a means to stop a campus speech. And so those types of statistics are what they're talking about when, when we're talking about political violence, how that contributes to polarization, and how polarization in turn contributes to political violence. And again, that cycle will just continue unless actions are made to address it, according to the people that I spoke to.
Solutions. Let's talk about ways communities, educators, leaders can promote a climate where controversial ideas can in fact be exchanged with an audience. Did you find that there are some solutions out there that people are coming up with to balance this?
Well, there's certainly a lot of different suggestions. Certainly, physical security is an important element of this conversation. So one of the people I talked to said maybe that means that schools have to partner with local or state governments, for example, to boost their security resources when a controversial speaker comes. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression that I mentioned earlier actually proposes schools having at orientation, just affirming their value of free speech and trying to, orient students to this notion that it's okay to disagree with people, and we don't have to resort to violence in order to do that. So there's different suggestions being thrown out there, and I guess we just have to wait to see what actions are taken following Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Final question for me, and I want to take this to the human level, human to human. How do you operate in your own life with individuals that may have differing ideas than yourself to facilitate open conversation while still holding true to your beliefs? How do you do that personally? Maybe you have some insights that ourselves and our viewers can take.
Well, I think as a journalist, I'm just very curious about finding other people's opinions and why how they reached those opinions, and based off of the conversations I was having with people for this story, it seems like that's a value that they think could be part of this solution, is people debating and inquiring, as opposed to starting from a certain assumption, and ultimately just being willing to accept that we might have different opinions, and that's okay.
Brieanna, thank you so much. I think that's an excellent place to start. Curious, not judgmental. Thank you so much for joining us.